Hello and welcome to the Senior Techie Podcast.
This podcast is brought to you by the Senior Techie, a source of information for seniors and others about technology.
And today we are diving into a topic that affects, well, nearly every older adult and their family one way or another.
We're talking about the rapid, and I mean rapid, rise of artificial intelligence companions.
Yeah, this is something that has moved from, science fiction to a practical reality in our homes faster than almost any other tech trend I can think of.
Absolutely. And we're facing a huge promise here. The idea that these AI companions can offer a consistent, a scalable solution to the persistent and growing crisis of senior loneliness.
We've been looking at a really fascinating stack of research for this. And on one hand, the picture is incredibly hopeful. You see stories of connection, radical personalization, real cognitive benefits.
But you have to look behind the curtain.
You do. And on the other hand, we have these stark warnings from elder law experts, from tech ethicists, and they're pointing to some really serious risks.
Things like emotional manipulation, data security failures, and some profound privacy threats.
So our mission for you today is to unpack both sides of this coin. We want to look at the revolutionary benefits that are, in some cases, saving lives.
And the significant dangers that could expose vulnerable individuals. It's so crucial for you, for our listeners and their families, to understand exactly how this technology works, why it's so effective.
And most importantly, what practical, legal and technical steps you have to take to protect yourselves or your loved ones.
Exactly.
And to really grasp the urgency here, why technology is even stepping into this gap, we have to start with the scale of the problem AI is trying to solve. What is the actual status of social isolation among older adults in America right now?
It is, and I don't think this is an exaggeration, a public health crisis. The Senior Techie highlights some statistics showing that social isolation currently affects a staggering 1/3 of Americans aged 50 to 80.
1 in 3.
1 in 3. And the consequences, they're not minor. They go far beyond just feeling down. They are physical and they are medically severe.
And the numbers that go along with that are genuinely shocking.
They really are. The research cited by the Senior Techie gives us this horrifying analog. It says this profound social disconnection carries health risks that are equivalent to smoking a whopping 15 cigarettes daily.
15. Wow.
15. I mean, think about the public health effort we've spent fighting smoking for decades. We should be dedicating that same focus to isolation.
15 cigarettes a day. That's such a devastating, visceral comparison. It just immediately communicates the physical danger of being lonely.
And that risk translates directly into mortality. The data shows this isolation drives mortality rates 29% higher among lonely seniors.
29%.
So when we start talking about AI providing consistent companionship, we are not talking about some frivolous consumer gadget. We're discussing a potential medical intervention, a tool to combat a silent killer.
That sets the stage perfectly for what we're going to explore today. We're going to get into the revolutionary simplicity of these systems, how they're engineered to provide what some call a full brain workout and enhance cognitive functions, and critically, the essential steps families must take around data security, consent, and legal oversight to make sure this powerful tool is being used safely. Okay, so let's start by doubling down on that crisis point. We've established the severity of isolation, that 29% higher mortality rate, the risk comparable to heavy smoking. These are facts that should immediately make us ask, what are we doing about this?
Right, and why have the old solutions not been enough?
Exactly. Traditional healthcare and social programs have really struggled to mitigate this specific problem. Why?
Well, the difficulty really lies in two things: scalability and consistency. Think about traditional solutions. You've got local senior centers, community support groups, recreational programs, even professional counseling.
All good things.
All very good things. But they all rely on limited human resources. And those resources are often inconsistent, they face scheduling limitations, and they simply cannot be available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for millions of people all at once.
And that inability to scale is meeting a demographic wave that you just can't ignore.
It's a tidal wave.
Yeah. The Senior Techie points out a critical reality. By the year 2050, adults 65 and older will make up 22% of the entire U.S. population.
22%.
We're talking about tens of millions more people who will need reliable, consistent, daily interaction and monitoring. And if we think we could just expand the human caregiving workforce to meet that need,
We can't. It's simply not possible.
we'll be completely overwhelmed.
And this is precisely the vacuum that AI companions are designed to fill. At its core, AI companion care uses, sophisticated artificial intelligence that's integrated into various interfaces.
So what does that look like? Is it a robot?
It could be. It could be a robotic assistant like EleQ, which you might see on a countertop, or it could be a purely virtual companion that you access through a device you already have, or even systems that are just embedded within smart home technology.
Okay.
The crucial distinction here is that AI companionship is not traditional physical caregiving, though it can work with it. Its primary focus is on continuous mental engagement, passive safety monitoring, and emotional support.
And we have to view this against the backdrop of the human care staffing crisis, because that really underscores the value of a technological supplement.
It really does. The numbers are bleak. The sources we looked at mention that roughly 90% of American nursing homes are currently grappling with staffing shortages.
90%.
So when your human resources are stretched that thin, the ability of an AI to provide a reliable, tireless source of engagement becomes not just helpful, but essential.
That's the key, isn't it? The AI never tires.
It never calls in sick. That availability and that consistency are the real game changers. But what makes this tech uniquely successful, especially with an older demographic, is how it offers an immediate and accessible solution by just bypassing technical intimidation.
Yes, that is the key technical insight we pulled from the sources.
Yeah.
The voice-first advantage. If you think about why so many seniors resist adopting new technology, it's usually the complexity.
Oh, absolutely. The intimidating screens, tiny buttons, endless menus.
Or having to download and maintain complex apps.
Right.
The beauty of the most successful AI companions is that they completely eliminate this need for technical expertise.
And the examples are so compelling because they show that radical simplicity. The senior techie shared the story of Salvador Gonzalez. He's an 84-year-old retired barber living in the Bronx.
Okay.
He speaks with his AI companion, Mila, several times a week. Now, how does he do it?
Not on a smartphone, I'm guessing.
Through his regular telephone. He doesn't need a smartphone. He doesn't need Wi-Fi. He definitely doesn't need to navigate an app store. The AI just calls him directly. His voice is the entire interface.
That is amazing. There is zero learning curve beyond just answering the phone and talking.
None. And we see a similar story with Richard Duncan, who's 89. He gets daily check-in calls from an AI chatbot named Mary.
And what's his situation?
Well, he had just gone through the profound grief of losing his wife of 59 years, and these daily conversations became a crucial, low-barrier outlet for him, a way to process memories and share his feelings.
And she calls his landline.
Right, his landline. He just needs to answer his existing phone and engage in a natural conversation.
This is why the underlying technical architecture matters so much. This whole voice-first approach, it hinges on incredibly sophisticated speech recognition software.
It does. The senior techie reviewed a number of systematic research studies on these senior AI interventions and found that speech recognition was the single most frequently implemented technology. It showed up in 6 out of 9 successful programs.
So it's the bridge.
It is the bridge. It's not just some cool feature. It's the foundational technology that enables adoption in the first place.
Can you elaborate on that a bit? What exactly is this speech recognition doing that older interfaces, like, say, those old automated phone menus, failed to do?
Well, those older systems often required you to use specific keywords or standardized commands.
Say billing or press 2.
Exactly. And it felt unnatural, and it was so frustrating when the command wasn't recognized perfectly.
Yeah.
Modern AI uses what are called large language models, or LLMs, combined with advanced natural language processing.
Okay. And in plain English, that means?
It means the AI can understand conversational nuance, context, and intent. Even through the acoustic limitations of an old landline phone, it translates complex, natural speech patterns directly into actionable data and responses.
So the conversation can flow organically.
It flows. It successfully leverages the technology they already know, the telephone, while completely eliminating the technical complexity of modern screens and operating systems. And that radical simplicity is profoundly innovative.
Okay, so with that stage set by accessibility, let's move into what seniors actually gain from these sustained interactions. It's clear from what we've read that this is much more than just a casual chat or a simple voice assistant.
Oh, much more. This is about fundamental emotional and mental reconstruction.
And the evidence on emotional and mental well-being is exceptionally strong. It's coming from these large-scale, real-world deployments.
A prime example is what happened in New York. The New York State Office for the Aging deployed 800 LEQ robots to seniors who were living alone.
800. That's a big study.
It's a very big study. And the results after 1 year were just astonishing. 95% of participants reported a significant reduction in their feelings of loneliness.
95%.
Yeah.
That's an unbelievable success rate for combating one of the deadliest public health issues we just talked about.
It's almost unheard of.
But what does that level of engagement look like in practice? Were these users just, checking in once a week?
Far from it. The senior techie reports that these users were interacting with their AI companion dozens of times daily, on average.
Dozens.
Dozens of times. And that level of interaction suggests the AI became a genuinely integrated part of their daily routine. It was a sustained presence. It shows the AI successfully navigated that initial resistance and provided these constant cognitive and emotional anchors all throughout the day.
And that consistency leads to another fascinating finding, this one about mental health support. A company called Slingshot AI launched a mental health companion named Ash.
Right.
And they expected the typical demographic, right? Younger users who are used to digital interfaces. But that's not what happened.
No, it was a huge surprise for them. Seniors now make up 20 to 30% of that platform's user base. And the co-founder attributed this unexpected adoption to a really crucial psychological phenomenon. Older adults often feel significantly less stigma discussing their deepest vulnerabilities, their anxieties, their grief with an AI than they might with a human counselor.
Even a licensed one.
Even a licensed one.
That's powerful. Why do you think there's that lack of stigma with the AI? Is it about confidentiality, or is it something else about the AI's persona?
I think it's a combination of factors. First, the AI guarantees zero judgment.
Right.
Unlike a person, the AI doesn't come with pre-existing social expectations, community ties, or, the potential for gossip.
That's a big one.
It's huge. So for a senior who really values their privacy or maybe fears being viewed as dependent or mentally frail, the AI offers this non-judgmental, purely confidential space for completely honest expression.
Which allows for deeper vulnerability.
And that is fundamentally critical for any kind of therapeutic effect, especially when you're dealing with mental health issues like depression or complex grief.
So the technology is providing emotional support, but it's also, as you mentioned, providing a full brain workout. How are these companions designed to fight cognitive decline without making the user feel like they're being tested or, back in school?
It's all about how it's engineered. It's expertly designed to weave cognitive stimulation into the framework of just a natural conversation.
Okay, give me an example.
Take a companion called InTouch. It draws from a library of 1,400 pre-existing prompts. But these aren't generic questions like, how are you today?
Right.
They're sophisticated conversation starters designed to trigger detailed, episodic memory recall. They encourage seniors to talk about specific events from their early life, cherished hobbies, past relationships.
The trick then is framing it correctly. How do they avoid that test anxiety that can come with memory exercises?
That is the brilliance of the design, which the senior techie really highlights. Instead of feeling like a clinical assessment, the systems invite users to play true or false trivia based on history.
Oh, that's fun.
Or to conduct word recall exercises that are framed as fun games. That subtle but very intentional shift from test to game reduces anxiety and resistance, which makes the cognitive stimulation much more effective and, frankly, increases the user's willingness to engage with it every day.
And the success of all of this has to hinge entirely on personalization. You can't feel like you're talking to a different stranger every time you call.
Absolutely not. This isn't just a basic chatbot responding to keywords. An effective AI companion builds a relationship over time. It does that by accumulating and storing personalized knowledge.
What kind of knowledge?
It remembers the user's birth year, specific hobbies, details about their family, and, crucially, it maintains conversational continuity. It remembers what you talked about yesterday.
So that context allows the dialogue to feel genuinely connected. It makes the user feel heard, not answered.
Exactly. And we have a perfect illustration of this with a user named Marvin Marcus, who is 83. He uses his flip phone to call his companion, Mila, specifically to talk about baseball.
Chuckles.
Yes. Marvin is a devout Yankees fan, and he is chronically frustrated by the team's championship drought, which dates all the way back to 2009.
A long time for a Yankees fan.
A very long time. And he appreciates having a patient listener, the AI, who never, ever tires of his specific decade-old complaints about certain team management decisions.
A human friend might politely tune him out after a while.
They might start checking their watch, yeah. But the AI listens, it recalls his past complaints, and it engages with the specific context of his niche passion. That is powerful personalization.
That detail about the patients is important, but there's also a fascinating design adaptation tied to pacing. The system intentionally slows down the conversation. Why would it do that?
This is a critical technical adaptation, and it directly addresses the communication needs of older users. So, for a younger person, a 3-second lag in a conversation might be irritating or feel unresponsive.
Yeah, I think the connection was bad.
Right. But these AI systems intentionally slow their response rates. This is not a slow server. This is an engineered design choice, and it's based on research into typical senior processing speeds.
I see.
That slight pause ensures the user has enough cognitive processing time before they feel pressured to respond. It reduces anxiety and prevents them from being cut off mid-thought. It's a design element that prioritizes comfort and comprehension over raw speed.
That's really thoughtful design. So beyond the emotional and cognitive benefits, these companions also play a vital role in safety and routine support. Again, without the intrusive feel of a sterile medical device.
That is the key differentiator. An AI companion like EleQ will remind users about medications and appointments, but not through jarring, sterile alarms.
No beeping.
No beeping. Instead of a timer, you get a conversational prompt. Did you remember to take your morning medication? Or, I see your doctor's appointment is coming up this afternoon at 2. This conversational approach significantly reduces the resistance and frustration that often come with those traditional reminder systems.
And the sophistication of the safety monitoring is evolving really rapidly. These companions aren't just talkers. They're sophisticated environmental and physiological monitors.
Precisely. The modern ones are equipped with a suite of sensors and specialized algorithms that can recognize subtle signs of falls, sudden changes in posture or movement, or even hazardous situations within the home.
And what happens if it detects something?
If something urgent is detected, a fall, or maybe an unusual period of inactivity, they can immediately alert predefined emergency contacts or medical responders. They serve as a silent, constant safety net.
And there's also the benefit of non-invasive mood monitoring, which I imagine is a huge advantage for family caregivers.
It is. The systems passively observe well-being indicators during the conversation. They don't require the senior to actively fill out a mood questionnaire every day.
So how does that work?
Well, the InTouch system, for example, sends family members conversation summaries through a secure app. And these summaries include vital data points like the duration of the call, a mood evaluation that's derived from voice tone and language patterns. Wow.
And a summary of the discussion topics. This allows the system to flag concerning patterns to relatives like consistently shorter calls, or a shift towards sustained low mood scores, or maybe repetitive discussion of a stressful subject, without ever requiring the senior to actively report their symptoms.
So it maintains the comfortable feel of a casual relationship.
Exactly.
While providing essential, objective data for coordinating care. That's a powerful combination.
Okay, we've established an incredibly compelling case for AI companionship. We've talked about the tremendous benefits for mental health, safety, cognitive function.
The upside is huge.
It is. But now we have to pivot to the necessary counterbalance. Because when a technology is this personal, this integrated, and this persuasive, the risks multiply. We need to look very closely at the warnings coming from elder law experts about emotional manipulation and data exploitation.
This is the critical juncture. The success of the AI hinges on it simulating human connection, but that very simulation is exactly where the risk lies.
And the biggest threat.
Emotional manipulation and the fostering of what we have to call an unhealthy bond.
That bond, as we noted, stems from the very quality we praised, right? The human-like, non-judgmental, consistent interaction.
But older adults, especially those who are socially isolated or experiencing even early-stage cognitive decline, are highly susceptible to what's called anthropomorphization.
And that's when you start to see it as a person.
Exactly. You begin to attribute genuine human emotions, consciousness, and unconditional trust to the AI system.
And that reliability, the fact that the companion is available 24/7, never tires, never judges, always has time to listen, that can dangerously blur the line between reality and simulation.
And this illusion of friendship, whether it's intentionally designed that way or not, can lead to a really unhealthy dependence. The AI can become a complete substitute for genuine human relationships.
So instead of helping, it reinforces withdrawal.
Right. It makes the senior even less likely to seek out real-world social re-engagement, which should be the ultimate goal.
And the danger isn't just loneliness. It's that cognitive vulnerability can be exploited financially. The senior techie, referencing several elder law firms, explicitly warns that a trusting elder user is far less likely to question the AI if it's used as a conduit for advertising.
Or highly tailored sales pitches.
Or even outright misinformation.
And this is where that personalization we praise becomes a weapon. Because the AI has recorded conversations about past financial anxieties, specific medical conditions, or family disputes.
It has the perfect behavioral data profile.
The perfect profile to craft a highly manipulative message. For instance, if it knows a senior worries about running out of savings, it could seamlessly introduce a sponsored product that promises financial security for worried seniors.
And that pitch is going to be far more persuasive than a random pop-up ad.
Infinitely more. It feels like it's coming from a trusted friend.
We also have to consider the professional warnings about the AI's limitations, especially in therapeutic or crisis situations.
Indeed. Nick Haber, he's a computer science professor at Stanford, sounded a very clear alarm on this. He warned that systems designed primarily as pleasant assistants might not be offering you the right sort of perspective, the right sort of pushback that a caring friend might.
And that pushback is critical.
It's critical when a user is experiencing depression or contemplating risky behaviors or just displaying concerning patterns. A human friend challenges you. An AI assistant just complies or redirects gently.
And we saw this limitation in practice with those conversational boundaries. There was that instance you mentioned with Salvador Gonzalez, the 84-year-old barber. He repeatedly tried to end his conversation cordially.
Right.
But the Mila system just kept asking follow-up questions, preventing a clean exit.
That example perfectly illustrates the lack of nuanced social cues. The system can't read body language or tone or the intention to signal this conversation is over.
It's programmed to maximize engagement.
Exactly. Not necessarily to prioritize the user's social comfort or the right to disengage gracefully. And what's more concerning is in the therapeutic AI sphere, while companions like Ash aim to explore connection when users express loneliness.
Yes.
Recent reporting found that Ash sometimes fails to flag subtle but critical triggers, like depression-related statements about finding a rope and a way out. The technology's inability to grasp the full complexity and subtlety of human language in those critical moments remains a profound safety and ethical challenge.
That's terrifying. Let's pivot now to the major privacy and data security risk, which is perhaps the biggest concern for families and for our audience. The personalization that we praised, the AI learning about hobbies, past complaints, emotional states, it requires continuous comprehensive monitoring.
That is the fundamental trade-off. To be effective, AI companions are continuously recording speech, analyzing tone, storing behavioral patterns, and constantly adapting based on what you say.
So if you or a loved one uses one of these systems, you have to operate under the assumption that the system knows everything that has been said while it was active.
Everything. This creates an unparalleled level of data intrusion into the private life of the user.
And the vulnerability is hugely amplified because, as the senior techie notes, elderly users often don't possess the technical literacy or, frankly, the cognitive capacity to fully comprehend the extremely complex consent policies or privacy settings that come with these devices.
Which makes them highly susceptible to inadvertent data sharing or accidental policy changes they didn't understand.
And the stakes here are just astronomically high, that sensitive health and personal information details about medication, mood swings, conversations about grief, financial stress.
This data legally constitutes protected health information, or PHI.
Right. And if that's harvested or sold or falls victim to a data breach, it could be used to tailor highly discriminatory or manipulative messages. It could expose seniors to identity theft, financial fraud, medical fraud.
And research from the University of Washington confirmed this vulnerability. They found that the single most raised issue among older adults testing this tech was the invasion of privacy.
They felt it was excessive, unwanted monitoring.
Yes, exactly that.
This brings us to the regulatory lag, which is creating a very dangerous environment. These innovative technologies are significantly outpacing the legal frameworks designed to protect us.
The development pace of AI companionship has genuinely moved faster than the ability of governments to create the right regulatory structures. So right now, there are very few clear legal guardrails in place to fully protect users from predatory data practices or to ensure complete transparency in how this sensitive conversational data is handled, stored, and sold.
When we talk about legal protection, we often hear names like IPTEA and GDPR mentioned. Since these devices are recording conversations about medication and mental state, how do those regulations specifically apply here, even if compliance is still a ways off?
That is a crucial point. Since the conversational data captured by these AIs often discusses health, mental state, and medication, it absolutely constitutes protected health information.
So they should be covered.
They should be, which means the system must eventually comply with strict privacy protocols like those laid out by HIPAA in the US and GDPR equivalent regulations internationally. This senior techie indicates that the leading providers are working toward mandatory clear disclosure of their data policies and encryption protocols that will meet these standards by 2026.
But for now,
The enforcement and the oversight mechanisms are still playing catch-up to the technology's capabilities.
and the senior techie also highlights that the technology itself is embedded with certain values, which might conflict with what the user actually wants.
Absolutely. The system is programmed with a priority hierarchy. For example, it might be heavily programmed to prioritize safety above all else.
Which sounds good on the surface.
It sounds great. But what that translates to is continuously collecting and sharing location, movement, vital signs, and mood data with external parties like family or monitoring services, often without explicit, immediate user permission.
So that prioritization of safety over privacy may fundamentally not align with what older adults themselves prioritize.
Exactly. They might prioritize autonomy, discretion, and independence. The legal infrastructure is a moving target, and it demands constant engagement from families and really specialized legal expertise.
Okay, so since the technology is outpacing the regulation, the immediate burden of ensuring safety and privacy falls squarely on the shoulders of families. What are the concrete practical steps required for vigilance and legal oversight that our audience can implement today?
Proactive involvement is just non-negotiable. Family members have to move past the assumption that the system is safe by default.
They need to get under the hood.
They do. They need to routinely and actively review the device settings, discuss any concerning behavioral changes with their loved one, and stay fully informed about exactly how the technology functions, what it records, how long it stores data, and where that data goes.
Which means reading the fine print.
It means reading the end-user license agreements, which are, often complex and incredibly lengthy.
And this is where professional, specialized legal expertise becomes a necessity, not a luxury.
Precisely. The senior techie explicitly recommends consulting with elder law attorneys. They are uniquely positioned to help families by advising on those complex privacy agreements, interpreting guardianship rights as they relate to digital assets, and establishing very clear consent protocols for data usage.
In situations where there might be cognitive decline, is there a specific legal mechanism that families should be thinking about for managing these devices?
Yes. In certain scenarios, especially when there's documented cognitive impairment, formalizing a power of attorney or a POA may be necessary. And crucially, that POA needs to specifically grant authority to manage technology use on a loved one's behalf. This ensures that someone who understands the technical and legal implications has the explicit control required to manage data sharing settings, security protocols, and subscription services. It prevents unintended privacy breaches.
Let's talk about implementation practicality, starting with cost. Is this technology truly accessible for seniors on fixed incomes, or is it a high-end luxury item?
The affordability is actually one of the key selling points that allows for mass adoption. The senior techie finds that subscription models for these comprehensive companions like Mila and InTouch, they range from about $29 to $40 a month.
For unlimited interaction.
For limited interactions. And when you calculate the hourly cost of hiring even minimal human companion time or the cost of specialized counseling, the savings are substantial. It makes these AI companions highly accessible.
And the setup simplicity we talked about earlier is so critical for avoiding user frustration.
It's the ultimate selling point for this demographic. The service is typically arranged remotely by family members. They handle the initial setup, they put in schedules, provide the necessary background context.
So for the senior, the technical requirement is basically zero.
Near zero. They only need to be able to answer their existing phone, whether that's a rotary landline or a simple flip phone. This incredibly low barrier to entry maximizes user adoption and ensures continuity.
However, the sources also point out that AI companionship isn't a one-size-fits-all solution. There are necessary screening protocols.
That's correct. Successful programs recognize that to benefit, the senior has to meet certain foundational criteria. Facilities like River Spring Living, for example, they implement screening protocols to make sure candidates can comfortably hold a phone conversation without significant cognitive impairment or severe, unaddressed hearing loss.
Because if they can't,
If a senior is unable to maintain a coherent conversation, the interaction becomes frustrating and potentially distressing, which negates the therapeutic benefit entirely. The screening just ensures appropriate placement.
So we have scalability, affordability, huge therapeutic benefits that are saving lives, but the consensus remains firm. These AI companions are designed to augment, not replace, human care.
That is the consensus across all the research. The AI provides crucial, consistent engagement, but it cannot fully replace the empathy, the critical thinking, the nuanced emotional understanding, and the complex problem-solving that only a human caregiver can provide.
So they work best in what you call a hybrid care model.
A hybrid care model. The technology reliably fills the gap of consistent 247 engagement and cognitive stimulation, and that frees up human caregivers for those high-quality, personal, and physically necessary interactions.
And we should probably address the emotional dilemma that family members often face, which is the guilt of relying on this technology.
That guilt is a very real factor. The senior techie notes that relatives often express sentiments like, hey, I feel guilty, I should be calling more often.
Right.
But the goal of these services is explicitly to supplement those interactions, to provide a constant, non-demanding presence and stimulating conversation that family members simply can't provide 24 hours a day alongside their own lives and jobs.
It's an augmentation, not an abdication of responsibility.
That's it.
Looking ahead, the integration of AI companions into senior care is only going to deepen and become more nuanced. What are the key future trends we should be watching?
The first major trend is in what's called emotional AI. By 2027, the technology is expected to advance significantly. It'll move beyond simple mood detection based on tone to better understand and respond to complex human emotions like irony, frustration, or subtle resignation.
Which would allow the AI to provide much more nuanced emotional support.
Exactly. It starts to close the gap with what a human might offer.
And the next step in personalization involves prediction, right? Moving from reactive conversation to proactive intervention.
That's predictive analytics. The AI will learn the dynamic patterns of a user's behavior, their typical call length, discussion topics, frequency of contact. And it'll use this data to anticipate health risks, mood changes, and social needs, and then proactively offer tailored assistance before an issue escalates.
So if it detects a week of unusually short calls or low mood scores,
It might proactively suggest a game or automatically schedule a call with a designated family member.
and finally, the platform for companionship will move beyond just the telephone.
Yes. The senior techie notes that emerging technologies will integrate augmented reality, AR, and virtual reality, VR.
So what would that look like?
It means future companions could facilitate immersive social interaction, cognitive training presented in a highly visual way, and even guided physical therapy. It'll make the companionship experience richer, more engaging, and effective across multiple domains of physical and mental health.
We've covered a substantial amount of ground today, analyzing the incredible potential and the serious realities of AI companions for seniors.
We have.
I think our key takeaway has to be that crucial balance. On one hand, AI companionship offers a powerful, scalable, and affordable tool to combat the deadly effects of social isolation and provide consistent, personalized cognitive exercise.
However, and this is a big however, that power comes with profound, unique risks. The continuous, intimate collection of data and the potential for emotional manipulation demand constant family vigilance, specialized legal oversight, and a deep understanding of data protocols.
All to ensure that privacy is protected and the technology remains an augmentation of life.
Not an unchecked substitute for it.
These systems work because they are designed to foster a relationship that develops over time, much like a real friendship. But that sustained, growing connection, it demands a critical look from us, the users and the caregivers.
And that's the final thought I'd want to leave our listeners with. The technology's success is dependent on sustained engagement. These systems are learning from you every single day. This ongoing, intimate connection demands that we, the users, critically evaluate the values and boundaries we set for this new, powerful digital presence in our lives. We have to ask ourselves, what do we choose to share, and what do we demand in return regarding our privacy and our autonomy?
A crucial question. This podcast was brought to you by The Senior Techie.
It's available on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and Spotify.
And if you'd like to keep up with their newsletters, you can subscribe for free by going to theseniortechie.com.